Day 2 of Browns training camp is in the books, but the real story today was Andrew Berry talked, as he does every year at training camp. And of course, front of mind was the situation with Quinshon Judkins. Of course, there's new details that came out today. Mary Kay, you just put a post up at cleveland.com/Browns. Andrew Berry, as we expected, didn't have a lot to say about Quinshon Judkins. He also didn't just outright commit to Quinshon Judkins remaining on this football team. So everything is still very murky on that front.
It really is. He declined to speculate on whether or not Quinshon will actually end up getting signed and being on this football team anytime soon, or even ever, really. He just kind of left that out there. He did not want to get ahead of himself on this case because they're still gathering the facts, gathering more information. But in the incident report that came out today, the victim did tell police that that there had been previous incidents of domestic violence, didn't rise to what this latest incident did, where she said that Quinshon punched her repeatedly, including in the mouth and chin area. But still, this is very, very, very serious, as Kevin Stefanski stated, and the Browns are going to continue to take a look at it. And the truth of the matter is, we really don't know when Quinshon is going to be back.
And that's the interesting part too here, Ashley, is that this has obviously played out longer than we've talked about. Mike Hall, he was on the field practicing the day after he was arrested last year. This has obviously been a much slower process with Quinshon Judkins, in part because that contract gives them a little bit of cover, but it just adds to, I guess, the mystery of what's going to happen with Quinshon ultimately.
Yeah, and of course this happened before everyone reported back to Berea for training camp, and yes, everything was going on already with a majority of the second round picks across the NFL and guys not having signed their deals because of the issues over guaranteed money and how much guaranteed money those players would be getting. So it's kind of spiraled since this incident happened, as all of that was ongoing separately. So certainly the incident report today adds another layer to it for what the Browns are going to have to decide in terms of how they're going to move forward with him.
And the Browns are certainly short at running back as well right now with Jerome Ford. He's dealing with an injury that happened prior to training camp. He is expected to be okay, but he's not out there practicing right now either. On the football field, sort of, Andrew Berry did acknowledge that he would be willing to keep 4 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. Now, they did that out of cutdown day last year, but they eventually moved on from Tyler Huntley pretty quickly. Mary Kay, if they kept 4 quarterbacks in this scenario, I would imagine that they would have 4 on the roster for a while.
Yeah, I think they would too. And I've been writing this for a long time, and nobody has wanted to believe me that there's a good chance they can keep 4 quarterbacks. They were always going to keep 3, and then Shedeur was added to the mix, and they obviously feel he's worth more investment of their time and their resources. So there is a good chance that they will end up keeping 4. Now, if someone comes along and makes them an offer that they can't refuse and things change up as camp goes on and it looks like they have a good number 1 and a good number 2 that they feel great about and they can spare one of them, then perhaps they will do something about that. But for right now, there is a good chance of 4.
And we know Andrew Berry is very opportunistic. We saw it a few years ago with Josh Dobbs. That situation was brought up, and Andrew pointed out it was a little different because they didn't have 4 at the time. But, Ashley, Andrew is opportunistic. So, obviously, today he says they'll keep 4. But like Mary Kay said, if the right opportunity was presented to Andrew Berry and they felt good about someone else, I'm sure he would jump at it.
Certainly. Never say never. I mean, I think back to a couple months ago, even in his pre-draft availability, when what was he doing for most of that press conference? Talking up Travis Hunter and how amazing of a player he was when the Browns still had the number 2 pick. Now, of course, Jacksonville made them an offer they couldn't refuse. They moved down to 5. They let the Jags take Travis Hunter, and they ended up with Mason Graham. So it's not out of the ordinary for him to be aggressive in terms of wheeling and dealing with some of these trades. So you can't really ever say never.
Now, on the field today, of course, we got to see these quarterbacks again. Mary Kay, what did you think of what we saw? We saw some 11-on-11, modified 7-on-7, some red zone. What did you think of what we saw out of these quarterbacks today?
Well, it was more of the same from yesterday in this ramp-up period. Again, they're not in pads. They're not doing a ton right now. They're not making a bunch of throws. They're getting a few reps here and there. And so they're just getting a little bit of a taste of it in these first few days. There's not too much that can be gleaned from it at all. But Joe Flacco did go first today in those 11-on-11 periods. He did not get a red zone period. And then Shedeur Sanders didn't get an 11 on 11 period. And I think we might see a little bit more of that as time goes on, where they can find those quality choice reps to Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. That will give us a little bit of a tell on what's going on with the competition.
And like we keep saying, Ashley, we can only go off of what we're seeing, who's going where. I know Kevin tells us over and over again, don't read too much into it, but guess what? We're going to read too much into it, especially when Shedeur Sanders is not getting a lot of those valuable reps, and we're still seeing the veteran quarterbacks getting those valuable reps. It could change. Certainly it could change when we get back here on Monday after the off day, but right now we've just got to work off what we're seeing.
Yeah, and some other things we saw today with Shedeur, in the opening early period when they're throwing routes on air, a lot of times he was having to throw to equipment guys because they're a little short on bodies in terms of their pass catchers right now in the running back room. And he was throwing to equipment guys a handful of times because Mike Woods II was not out here today with a hand injury. And then in the red zone, he's working with a third or fourth string center. He had 2 out of 4 were bad snaps that weren't his fault. So, yeah, I think that's unfortunate, but also if you are wanting to really start to ramp him up, like, are we going to get to see him play with the first or second team more? Because we just haven't seen it yet so far out here.
Okay, I'm just going to own it here in this video. Am I forgetting something? Did we say we were going to talk about something that I'm forgetting? Because I feel like we did. I don't know. I guess we'll hit it on the podcast. Oh.
Sure. Yes, I have one thing real quick. When we talked to Andrew today, he did make it clear that he admonished Shedeur Sanders for the speeding. And I think it's fair to note that. He said it. Kevin said it. They both talked to him. They made it clear that behavior and that kind of dangerous action is not acceptable, and they need them to stop.
Yeah, the phrase he used when he was asked about it was not smart, and he went through some of the scenarios and why guys need to understand that. So this is the first time we've really had someone address that with us since it happened, Ashley. So Andrew kind of taking that strong stance with Shedeur.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was notable because, as you said, it's really the first time we've gotten to ask him about that because it happened during that down period again. And I think all rookies have to be aware, and they kind of said that they have to. I think Kevin Stefanski was the one who went on to say, you have to know how to be safe in any scenario that you're in, whether it's in a car, whether you're out and about around the city. All those sorts of things are really, really paramount.
Okay, now I know we covered everything. But if we didn't, you can find full coverage of everything that happened today at cleveland.com/Browns.